I've been in several conversations lately, and I wonder if there's a way in which, in facing this anti-Asian violence, which is really serious, I think there are over 1,000, nearly 2,000 reported incidents. And we probably know many of the most extreme examples on this call. I wonder if there's a way that we can take both the particulars of the anti-Asian violence, right, and understand it and organize around it in such a way that we look both at the white supremacists, the direct perpetrators, and probably it's not just white people who are being anti-Asian too, right? And so looking at the particulars and then using this moment to protect the ones, who are being targeted and hurt and so forth. And at the same time, look at the ways in which the construction of race, the dominant black-white racial paradigm also kind of keeps us from seeing things that we ought to be seeing from a bigger frame, right? So that historically, the black-white racial paradigm has said other racial groups matter less, right? And I think there's a kind of some anti-Asian kind of leaning sentiment within that. Having said that, they're also among Asians and Asian immigrants and Asian Americans kind of anti-Blackness and, anti-brown folk, and all of that. So I'm just wondering, what can we learn? What have we learned from the past around this kind of racialized scapegoating, racialized violence that we can take to deal with the particulars of the anti-Asian stuff, at the same time deal with the intra-racial dynamics so that none of us will have to put up with this kind of scapegoating and hatred, depending on when the context changes, right? And everybody who knows this country knows that there has to be an N, I won't use the word, on the bottom. There's been particular groups on the bottom, but it could be anybody, right? It could be any group of color, depending on, what's happened. If we look beyond the history of it, right? So I think in this moment, there's this tension, this kind of pulling back one of the layers, right? This tension between Asian and Asian Americans as a model minority. And then we've known throughout history that when needed, they're no longer models, right? They are the targeted people. We talk about the Exclusion Act, the Chinese Exclusion Act, all of those things, right? And so how do Asians and Asian Americans need to think about their own social location, their own place in this society? How do we need to think about deep racial solidarity in this moment? And finally, how do we need to examine ourselves to think about where are the little things that, I don't even know what to call it, things, the ethnocentrism, the racism that we're also harboring against, other peoples of color. So I think the moment now is to deal both with the particular anti-Asian stuff and to imagine what a real racial solidarity would look like and how would it be practiced among peoples of color and then eventually white folks.